minimize resource under latency. Dual problem. Either given the resource limit, you try to schedule the things within the using the resource in minimum time step, or you the limit, you try to utilize minimum resource to meet the timing limit, right? So that these are the two things, and we have seen on constant scheduling this ASAP and ASAP algorithm. We argued that these are not that useful algorithm, but it gives the limit, right? So ASAP and A even specifically ASAP gives you that minimum needed to execute particular behavior. So that might be useful for solving other problems. And also, what you have seen that this ASAP and ALAP, the difference in the mobility is basically the space where you can actually reschedule the operations and without violating timing delay. Sorry.
Sir, your voice is still breaking. We
Voice
can't
is not
hear
clear.
properly.
It's a problem then. I'll speak very slowly today so that at least you can make what I'm trying to say. Okay. So this ASAP and ALAP, the time difference is the mobility of a person. What does it mean? This is the place you can actually reschedule the operation in any of these time step so that it does not violate the minimum time requirement, right? For example, this in this graph, the left hand side is the ALAP, right hand side is the ASAP solution, and so for example, for this in node, so the time step is 1 here, it is 3 here, so it's basically 3 minus 1 is 2, so it can be scheduled in any of these time steps, so its mobility is this place, right? So similarly, you can actually, for every node, you can actually identify the mobility factor, and that is useful because you cannot, if you want to schedule this behavior, you have to schedule these operations given the latency constant. For example, if the mobility is 0, for example V1, there is no alternative that V1 and V2 has to be scheduled in time step 1 because their mobility is 0. So they, if you try to delay them here, your total time required to schedule the behavior will increase. So zero mobility means whatever the node 0 mobility, if there is no alternative, you have to schedule in the fixed time step, and their ASP and ALF time step is same. Okay. So this is what we have learned in the last class. So what I'm going to do today is we are going to consider this under resource constraint, right? So this is what is called uh, minimize latency under. So this term I'm going to use quite frequently, MLRC, minimize latency under resource constraint. And today we will see how we can model the this ILP formula, integer linear progression, for this MLRC problem. Okay, so
Excuse me, sir.
yeah, please.
It's very difficult. Like it's getting stuck over and over again. Like I'm not. It's difficult to keep track of what you're saying.
Okay. So what to do?
I don't know whether I am the only one or like others are also.
So is the maximum person having the same problem? Because I'm quite. I think it's the problem because Amrit complained and is having the things. So
Sir,
can
you
you
are
raise?
not audible. Sir, voice is really breaking. It is very difficult to.
Understood. Understood. Okay, so let me do something. Uh, let me try to connect the Wi-Fi then, so because but wireless is something. Let me try, connect this wireless.
Sir, do one thing. Sir, do one thing. Record the lecture and upload this.
Can you hear me now? Is it better? Hello.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So we
I
can.
think it's fine to me.
Yeah, fine.
Okay. Okay. Let me start things now. Okay. So as I mentioned that we are going to do this ILP formulation of scheduling of MLRC that minimize latency under resource. So that is for each type of operations, the maximum limit of resource is given. Okay. And, scheduling that use the minimum number of time steps. That means the latency is minimum.
Sir,
Okay.
the same problem.
Sir, again, it's the same problem.
True. Uh,
Sir, record the lecture and upload them.
okay. So Wi-Fi in the first day it's created a problem. I know that, so that's why I just LAN. Usually LAN does not create problem. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's continue. If it's creating lot of problem, probably I have to record and video. But let's try to carry on. Okay. Mm. Okay. So this ILP I am going to talk about for this MLRC problem. Okay. So what is given to us? We are given this sequence graph. So that means I have given all these nodes. This that set of the dependency graph or the sequence graph is given. So for every node, there is a delay value is the number of time needed to execute the behavior. Okay, and E is the data dependency. Okay, that is what we have given, and also given the upper bound of resource. Right? What does it mean? So if there is a multiplier, I told key, so there are n type of resource say, so it may be adder, multiplier, any other things. So if there are n type of resource, AK define the number of resource available for type K. If K equal to 1 is multiplier and AK A1 is basically 5, that means there are 5 multipliers available. Okay, so this is what is given. So in addition to this uh, sequence graph and delay value, we have also given the resource limit for each type of resource, and type of resource is multiplier, adder, and so on. Okay, and what we have to do? We have to do the same thing, that we have to find the start time of the operations. That means we have to map this node to an integer value. What would be the start time of the variable? So this phi of vi is ti, means ti, the operation vi will start at the time ti, and when it will complete, it will take d number of time steps, so it will complete at ti plus di minus 1. So at till this
Sir,
point,
I'm not able to see this.
you are not able to see this thing. Can you see it now? Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yes, sir. It's
Yeah.
I
So
think
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
To leave that and
we have already tell these things that we are going to find the start time of the operation. If the operation vi starts at time step I, it will carry on in time step ti, then ti plus 1, ti plus 2 till ti plus di minus 1. Till this time it will be executed because the delay of the node is di. Okay. So this is what is the point. And then if say there is a edge from vj to vi, so if there is a edge from Vj to Vi, so that means there is a node Vj here. This is Vj and this is Vi, and there is a edge from this to this. So then, so this, if it start at Tj, then Tj plus Di. So this is the time when only Ti can start, right? So if the time step here is Ti,
Sir,
yes,
sir, there is a internet problem from my side, so I am not able to see the screen.
you can actually rejoin. Then sometimes it create a problem in Teams. I also noticed that you just rejoin, probably your screen will come. Okay. Check, otherwise you let me know.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so the idea here
Okay, sir.
is your obviously that it's the schedule that ti value you are going to find it out should satisfy the dependency constant. This is given by that. So only this ti can start when tj finish. That means operation vj finish. It will finish at here. So ti should be at least greater than equal to tj plus dj. Right. This is for all edges, and also this is very important that the number of operations that are scheduled in a particular time step L must satisfy the resource constant. This tau vi is the type, right? This will give the type of this operation, whether it's a multiplier or adder. So of a particular type K, all the operations that schedule in time step L must satisfy the resource constant, right? This is the additional thing that is getting added compared to the previous one, that all the operations of type K which is scheduled in time step L should satisfy the resource constant AK, right? And you try to find out this Tn, which is minimum. Tn is what? The start time of the last node or the sync node. So if Tn is minimum, it ensures that this is the minimum schedule of the behavior. Okay. So this is what is the problem statement. Given this sequence graph and the resource upper bound, you assign the time step which satisfy the dependency constant, resource constant, and also give the minimum latency. Tn is minimum. Okay, that is my problem statement. So what we're going to do? So this problem is actually NP complete. Okay, so that means you can understand that there are two to this. If there are say n node, there are exponential number of solution is possible, and you in worst case you have to probably check all exponential type of solution and find out the best one. So that's why it's a NP complete problem, and there is no polynomial type algorithm available for this. Okay. So what is the solution then? I mean, either you go for the exact solution, which ensures that your result will be always the best solution, and for them either we'll go for ILP, integer linear program type of solving, or you will take a special case of this scheduling and will using Hughes algorithm will solve it. Okay, these two I'm going to cover. And but in general, this is not scalable. This ILP is not scalable because the number of variables is too much. So usually the practice is that you take an approximate algorithm or heuristic based algorithm, specifically the least scheduling, that will give you the good solution or the best solution most of the time, or the solution that will be generated is largely acceptable. Maybe the variation from the optimal is very less. So I can actually consider this kind of rescheduling, which is very fast, is scalable, and give solution which is mostly acceptable. That may not be the best one, but it is acceptable. Okay. So
When you say exact here, sir, because it's an NP complete problem, there is no optimal algorithm, right? So how do we know what the exact or optimal answer is?
yeah, ILP will be able to solve the problem in give you the solution. If the solution exists and ILP is a terminate, the solution it will provide with the exact, the optimal one. but so this we have to formulate the scheduling as a integer linear programming problem. That is what we are going to do today. And so that will always give you, ILP give you the best solution, right? It will optimize, it will give you the solution that is that actually meets your objective function, right? So whatever your objective function, it will try to minimize or maximize certain things, and it will give you the, if the solution exists, it will give you the solution. Okay, but since the number of variable will be large, the ILP function will not slides. This is not, so that's why, although I give you the exact solution, because of impracticality in practical use, we can't use it. But the knowing the formulation is very important. So you are going to cover that ILP today.
Okay, sir.
Okay, in ILP, I hope you know what is integer, right? What is this? You have the are either integer or boolean, and if the expression should be linear. For linear, whenever there is an expression, it is basically addition of the terms and multiplication. Whenever there is a multiplication term, the one of the term must be constant. So suppose you have a, say, c into x1, so c must be constant. So you cannot have x1 into x2. I'm assuming x1 x2 as the variable, right? So linear means it's basically constant multiplication plus addition and subtraction, right? So your constant, or whatever the constant you are going to add, that must be linear. Okay, and in the ILP, what we usually have, so if you just try to refresh your ILP idea, you have an objective function, right? Suppose you have an expression given, say x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4. So suppose that is your expression. You want to minimize the value of that value. Find out the value of, say, x1, x2, x3, x4, which give you that particular expression minimum value. So that is your objective function, subject to certain set of constraints. So you try to say that x1 must be greater than x2, and say x2 plus x3 x4 greater than x4, and so on. So you have certain constraints. In the ILP, what it does, it tries to assign the value to this variable x1, x2, x4, thus that it satisfy all the constraints, and it in such a way that your objective function is met, that is actually become minimum, right? So that is what is the ILP formula. So now see what is our problem here. Scheduling. We have set of operations, say n number of operations are there, and say we know the upper limit of the, say, time of, say, lambda, and then we try to map this time, right? So our objective is to map each operation into this time step. This lambda plus 1 is the time limit to this operation to them, such that my resource constant is met, dependency constant met, and so on, right? So, and this lambda is minimum, right? So if that particular lambda is basically minimum, right, this is the upper bound, or you can say that it actually satisfies the upper bound of the latency. Okay, so with this how we can show that, because in the ILP you need to have certain variables, right? You cannot just say what is this and what is that. You have to specifically have a set of unknown variables, right? The value of those variables, you try to figure it out. So that is what the ILP is objective, and then this all your constant will be in terms of those unknown variable. Your objective function will be in terms of that unknown variables, and so on, right? So for this scheduling, what will be those set of variables, right? So that is defined in this line. So very important to understand this, because otherwise you are not able to follow the rest of the today. The XIL. So I'm going to take a Boolean variable XIL. That means if XIL is equal to 1, that means the operation I or VI, operation VI, start the execution in time step L. Okay, so if XIL is 1 or true, then the operation VI start at time step L. Okay, so this is what is the variable that I'm going to consider for my ILP. And what is the range of this I? Because I have considered there are n operations, so I can vary from 1 to n, and L is what the available timestamp. The available timestamp is 1 to lambda plus 1. the lambda plus 1 will be used for Vn. So basically 1 to lambda bar will be used for the actual operation. Okay. So I have considered, so how many variable will be there? So if there are n number of operations are there and lambda plus 1 number of time steps, so number of variable is basically n into lambda plus 1. So in a realistic example, you say suppose your n is 100 and lambda is say 20, so 100 into 20 is basically 2000, right? So yeah, so those number of variable will be there. So you can understand the complexity will grow with the number of operations and the time available. This is what is the Boolean variable, and I want to figure out the value of this xil, right? So can you tell me one thing? So for a given I, say I equal to 1, so x1, how many L will be 1 and how many x1, say x, so for say what I'm trying to say is this, okay, suppose I am considering the variable 1, so x say 1 1, then x1 2, then x1 3, x1 4, and say my lambda is still this 4, right? So for operation 1 there are 4 variables, so how many of them can be 1? Can anybody tell me?
Only one
Sir,
of them.
this should be equal to the mobility for that variable v1.
So exactly one of them will be 1, right? So it's not the mobility also, it can be mobility. All operations have only unique start time, right? So only one of the variable will be 1. So basically if you just add a plus here, you just try to add them, this it will be 1, because every operation can only start once, it cannot start 2 times or 3 times, although it has mobility 3, but in a solution, even a given schedule, it will only start only once. So that means for a given operation, say I equal to 1, the summation of this x11, x12 plus x13 plus x14 will be 1. That is what is called unique start time. Okay. So that is how actually, so basically only one of the Boolean variable is 1 and rest of them will be 0. Okay. So that is what is the start time of the operation. What I just told you, that operation can only start only once. So that is basically called unique start. Limitation or the constraint on those variables. One of them is, as I discussed, that it must be the start time of each operation must be unique. So that means xi lambda plus 1, sorry, L vary from 1 to lambda plus 1 is 1 for each. Okay. So this is the first.
Sir, could you reshare
You
your
are
screen? Could you
you are
reshare your
screen
screen?
sharing.
Okay, I'll do that.
Screen is not visible.
Yeah, I'll just do it again. Today, I think the internet is creating a lot of problem for us. So I'll just share the screen again. Is the screen is visible now? Is the screen visible?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Is it visible now?
No, sir.
Shared it. I don't know. Today it's getting a lot of problem. I mean, I can understand. So I'll just Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. So I hope you understand that each operation has a unique start time. So that's something is given by this. So you basically we have considered this n into lambda plus one number of variables, and then I'm going to add the constant that this variable should satisfy. Right. So I have first identify that operation should start at unique start time. Okay, that is given by this. So if you do not understand, just stop me. Okay. Second one is the data dependency constant, right? So it's basically data dependency. So data, I try to data dependency. So the second is that whatever this constraint, this must satisfy the data dependency, right? So if a particular operation say ti, say that operation say start at ti, the operation I vi start at ti. So how can I represent this ti? Can you tell me? So it's basically, as I mentioned in the previous slide, that it has a unique start time, right? This this for example, this for say operation 1, I just try to say this sum x1 1 plus x1 2 plus x1 3 plus x1 4 is equal to 1, and so that means one of them is 1. So if I do a summation, say lambda l equal to 1 to lambda plus 1, and then x1 l, right? So this is, I'm just considering for the operation 1, right? So since one of them is 1, say suppose it's the operation starting at say 2 time step 2, right? So then if I just multiply this xil with l, I'll get the timestamp or the start time. You understand? Because if this is 1, so then basically for l equal to 2 it is 1, so then it will be 2 into 1, so that means it is 2, and since others are 0, it will be 0, so it will give you 2, right? So what I can do is my t1 or the start time of operation 1 is nothing but just doing a summation l equal to 1 to lambda plus 1. It is basically l into x1l. So instead of 1, I can just write it is I, and where I can be 1 to n, right? So the start time of a operation can be extracted by just multiplying l with the xil, because then only one, since only one of this xil is 1 for a particular operation, so if I just multiply with l for that particular l, I am going to get xil equal to 1, so it will give you 1 into l, so l. So l is the start time of that. Okay, so that is very interesting, right? So what is the timing constant that we already know, that ti. So if there is a edge from vj to vi, so it's always the reverse. You try to keep in mind that this is just the reverse way. So this is my vj and this is vi. There is a edge like this, so the start time of this only whenever this completes, and then you can start, right? So this is already known, this ti must be greater than equal to tj plus dj, right? This is for all possible edges, right? So as I mentioned in the previous slide, that ti is nothing but this, right? l into xil, where l will vary from 1 to lambda plus 1, right? And this tj is nothing but this, right? l into xjl. Again, this l will vary from 1 to lambda plus 1 minus dj. So I just put everything in this side. So this ti minus tj minus dj should be greater than equal to 0, which is this. Okay. So I have to represent this. I have to represent this expression, this ti tj, because I do not have any ti and tj variable in my ILP formulation. What I have only this xil. So I have to represent this ti and tj in terms of xil, and that is how I represent this, right? So this particular expression is rewritten as this in terms of the variable xil, and I hope you understand. So how many constant will be there? So this will be for each edge. So the number of such constant, data dependency constant, will be equal to the number of edges of that particular sequence graph. How many start time? It is number of n. If there are n number of operations, I'll have n number of equations, right? So this is what is given by, and there will be e number of equation for data dependency constant, and this is given by this. Okay. What is the last constant? Is the resource bound, right? So resource bound is very interesting, and you have to understand it very carefully. You have to understand that for a particular time step, so we have say lambda plus one number of time steps. So each time step, all resource constant must be satisfied. If there are two multiplier in every time step, you can actually run at most two multiplication operations. As simple as that, right? So how to decide that, right? So how to specify that particular things in terms of XIL, right? So that is very interesting. So let's say initially you understand that say the delay or the delay, all operation is single cycle. So this is a simple case, and then I'll move to the common case. So then you just consider a type of operation is equal to K, right? So K equal to 1 to number of resources, right? So what will happen? So here this for each time step L, whatever that XIL is 1, so that must be and for those I where the type of the resource is K, that must be less than the resource, right? So you just I'm repeating the sentence again. I'm considering a time step L, so any time step L, and then I have to identify how many operations of type K schedule in the time step. How can I identify? I just see the type of this operation Vi K. I am going to consider only the type of I am going to consider only those operations which has type K, and if that XIL, if that is scheduled in the time step L, so that means it is actually going to use the resource type AK or say type K is going to use this in time step L. So then those particular number of operations must be less than AK. Okay, this is for single cycle. I have not considered the operation that is multi-cycle, right? So now if you try to make it generic, it's very interesting. So the point here is you have to understand this thing. So I'm just drawing a diagram. So okay, so suppose I am in time step L. Okay, my question is how I have to identify the, say I'm just say only one type of resource is there, say K equal to 1, say only multiplier, say for simple. So I have to identify the operations that are of type K, right? That is given by this. So this will give you the operation that are type K. So let us assume that only I am considering a multiplier, right? And what I am bothered about that I am trying to identify the operation that are live at time step L. Okay. So when this can be live at time step L, right? When this operation actually start in this L time step, right? Say a particular operation is starting at Lth time step, or it may be started at L minus 1 and it's still continue because it's a delay of Di, right? So operation I has a delay Di. If it start in L minus 1, then also it can continue because it has delay is still D minus 1. So it can start at D minus L minus 2 and still continue because it is basically started here and still continue. So then it is a and then say you are basically L minus Di plus 1 in this time step. If that operation start here, and then what can happen, this operation actually start here and complete here. This is the last possibility, that if it started at L minus Di plus 1 and it actually going to complete in Lth time step. Next, in all scenario, any operation that is scheduled in time step L, L minus 1, L minus 2, L minus 3 till L minus Di plus 1 of type K will use a resource at time step L, and I'm actually identifying the number of resources needed at the time step L, right? So this particular summation gives us the all those operations, this XIM. So M is varying from L minus Di plus 1 from this to this time step range. If that XIM is equal to 1, so that means this particular operation is going to utilize the type K operation at time step L. So all those operations summation of all such one or all this operation must be less than ak, right? So here is the resource limit of type k, and now I am going to vary this L from 1 to lambda 1. So I am going to do the same thing for time step 1, L equal to 1. I am going to do the same thing for time step 2 and so on, right? So this is what is the constant, and it is for every type, right? So how many such equation will come? It is L into k, right? So for each type of resource, each type timestamp, I have to identify the resource limit for each type. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do, and this is what is resource constant. So this equation is a little bit complex, but you try to understand with this diagram, you will understand it clearly. Okay. So what we understood, that I have to identify the start time. Okay, so this Ti, so I have identified three constants. One is basically unique start time, data dependency, and resource constant. These three constants I have identified, and now I am going to do the actual ILP formulation. So I am going to consider a T is a vector, is the start time of each node, right? So basically, if this is a vector, right? So let us understand, for now is a vector of n, and I want to minimize that. I will come back to this Ti in a minute, and which should satisfy my unique start time, resource constant. This is my resource constant, and this is my dependency constant, right? And then what is this Ti? That's something you have to understand. Okay, now, so Ti is a vector, okay, which is basically assigned the timestamp of each variable, right? So it's basically, if there are n nodes, it's a vector of n value, right? And I try to find out this value of this Ti. So for minimization of the latency, I am claiming that this value should be 0, 0, 0, 0 to 1. Why? So this 0 is corresponding to node V1, right? This is corresponding to V2, and this is corresponding to Vn. So if Vn is minimum, so I'm claiming that if Vn is minimum, that means my total time to schedule the whole operation is minimum. So if my objective is to minimize the latency, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this, I'm going to take this T as is basically 0001, and this will be multiplied with this start time. Okay, this will be multiplied with the start time of the variable, and such that this total summation will be minimum only when this is basically 1. So for minimization of the latency, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this constant as 0001, and whatever the start time I'm going to get for the operation, this will ensure that this value is minimum, right? So that is what is my objective function. So if I take the value 1, 1, 1, 1, all 1, what will happen? So that means, and it is multiplied with the start time, right? So this will give the minimum value only when all possible operations are started earliest, right? So if that particular value of this timestamp is less, this total summation will be less, right? So if all of them is 1, which is nothing but I try to achieve the earliest time, schedule, right? Which is basically ASAP. So if I just use this constant is 00001, which will give you me the minimum time step scheduling or the latency minimization. If all of them is 1, then that objective function will ensure that this solution, whatever I'm going to get from ILP, that is nothing but ASAP solution. Okay, earliest possible time. I hope you understand this. Okay, so let me take an example. So suppose I have, I'm going to take the same behavior, the DIFFQ, and let's say I have 2 ALU and 2 multiplier. ALU means it will do a addition, plus, minus, greater than, less than, all operations, and 2 multipliers are there. Okay, so that means the resource constant A1 is 2, A2 is also 2. Okay, and let us assume that all operation is single cycle. Okay, just for simpler thing. So what will be our constant? The first constant is the unique start time. Okay, so for this operation I have 4 because I have my lambda is 4, so I have 4 possibilities, that x11, x12, x13, x14, but we can utilize the value of mobility, that ASAP and ALAP, because I know this this particular operation has to execute in time step 1 to meet that lambda. Okay, So it is basically x11 plus x12 plus x13 plus x14 equal to 1. But since the mobility is 1, I can just do the summation from L equal to basically the mobility, right? So it's basically mobility of the node, right? Mobility of the node, and that x I L should be 1 instead of the first one, right? So that means that's why I just put x11 equal to 1. So I can, from this I can understand that this x12, x13 and x14 is basically 0, right? For similarly for this 2 for operation say 6, operation 6, it can actually schedule here or here because this can come here. So mobility is 2, so x61 plus 62 is 1, right? I can write this x11 plus x12 plus x13 plus x4 equal to 1, but since I already know the mobility, I can utilize and I can make the constant simpler. So I'll just do that. So this way I have n number of such constant for each node, right? This is the unique start time. And then you have to take an edge. Say I'm going to take an edge from 6 to 7. So this edge, and I have to add the constant. So what I have to say, whatever the possible time steps, start time of this, the possible start time of this is either 6. It can schedule in time step 1 or time step 2. So that is what is given here. Either it is 1 into 6.1 or 2 into 6.2. So it is basically one of them will be 1. So it cannot be both is 1. So that is the possible start time of operation 6. And this is the possible start time of operation 7. It can start in time step 2 or time step 3 because it can move here. So 7 to 2 into 7 2. So if this is 1, then it is scheduled in time step 2, or it is 7 3 into 7 3, right? So this either this, so this is the possible start time of operation 2, operation 6. This is the possible start time of operation 7 minus 1. This is di because I am considered the operation di, which should be less than 0, right? So I can take all edge one by one. I am going to add this kind of constant, right? So let me take this edge this now. So operation 9 can schedule in time step 2, 3 and 4, right? So that's why it is 2 into 9 2, 3 into 9 3 plus 4 into 9 4. This is the possible time where operation 9 can start, possible start time of operation 9. And n is always going to schedule in time step 4. So 5 because lambda plus 1. So 5 into x 9 5. It has no other possibilities, right? Plus 1 is basically less than or equal to 0 because the 9 will take a single cycle. So this way I can add constant for each edge, and those will be the data dependency constant. And then the third set of constant is basically the resource bound. So I have to take each time step, so time step 1 for each type of resource. So let's me take the say multiplier. So what are the multiplication operation can schedule in time step 1, 1, 2 and 6. So I'm going to take this x11. So that means operation 1 is scheduled in time step 1. x21, operation 2 is scheduling in time step 1. xc1, operation 6 in scheduling time step 1. Plus this also, right? Sorry, this 8. So 8.1. So the total summation is less than or equal to 8. That means there are 4 operations which is possible started at time step 1, but only 2 of them can be scheduled because I have a resource constant of 2. So I can do the same thing for time step 2. So time step 2, 3 can execute, 7 can execute, this 6 also can come here because this can come down, and 8 also come here. So 3, 6, 7 and 8. So x32, that means operation 3 can start at time step 2, x62, 72 and 82. This summation should be less than or equal to 2. So this way I can actually, for each timestamp, for each type of resource, I have a constant like this. Right? So these are the constant set I'll identify from this graph. And then as I say that objective function, if you just take that objective function is 0001 is the constant value, and then whatever the value I'm going to get, if I try to minimize that, that will give me a solution that satisfy the resource constant and give a minimum latency solution. And if you solve this by hand, or if we just take any solver, there are many ILP solver available in free, and you can just model them and run it there, you'll get this solution. You see in this solution I'm meeting this time 4 timestamp, and I'm meeting the resource constant 2. See here, I am scheduling 2 multiplier, I'm scheduling 2 multiplier here, I'm scheduling 2 multiplier here. So my multiplier limitation is met. Here I am scheduling only one adder, here only one. Here I am actually doing 2 ALU operation. Here only one. So I'm meeting all the resource constraint and I am also giving a minimum schedule. Okay. So this is what is the solution, whatever we just discussed today. Okay. So I'm going to stop here.
What is the time complexity of this algorithm with respect to the number of inputs? Is it exponential or is it polynomial?
So this ILP is basically exponential. They try to, ILP, you just go into this ILP in detail. They don't basically, they try to assign, they have a lot of way you can solve the ILP problem. But this is in general kind of exponential. That's why this takes very lot of time and it's not scalable for, it just hangs. So if you just go for bigger problem, it just can't give you the solution. So internally, to be honest, I also do not, I do not have all detail how exactly ILP gets solved internally, but they try to put a lot of constraint. They try to assign some value, and then try to solve the, try to assign the value and get the solution. A trial and error can be there, or just assigning, taking one constant at a time and drawing some graph internally and try to solve that problem. So many things can happen internally. Maybe a subset of problem is polynomial time solvable. And so on, but in general, because they are complex, in the problem is inherent NP complete. So if you map a NP complete problem to a ILP problem, it is still be a NP complete problem. So it won't give you.
I have doubts. So before creating the equations, and we assumed n equal to 5, right? Before creating the equations.
Yeah, it's a good question. I was expecting this question. So my question, so somebody can tell us that it is a great question. That how do you get this lambda? Because you are saying that I want to solve this minimize latency under resource constraint. Where is the lambda, right? So that's a great question. So to answer your question is, since I need a limit, otherwise I cannot, this number of variable will be bounded, it can be infinite. So you can actually try to solve this problem, say for lambda 4, and say ILP does not give you any solution. That means with 4, with this resource is not possible. Then probably you take 5, right? So what you can take, you just do the ASAP solution and you get the lambda, you give that value. So our example that is 4, you give the value 5 here and try to solve the problem. And if ILP could not solve the problem, that means with the given resources, 2 multiplier and 2 adder, it is not to solve the problem. There is no solution exist which can solve the problem in 4 times step. So then you increase it to 5 and solve the problem. Okay. But this is how it should solve it, because unless you bound this number of variable, if it get infinite, then you can't solve the problem really. But it's a really good question. I was expecting this question. So anything else? Any other question? Okay, so then we can stop here. We'll stop discussing, continue discussing this ILP and his subset, which can be solved.